Good evening. I call to order the regular scheduled meeting of the Normal Public Schools Board of Education. Ms. Sasser, will you please call the roll?
Darko here.
Here.
Dan Snell.
Here.
Cindy Nasher.
Here.
Linda Sexton. Here.
Will you please stand as we honor our flag and salute?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Milner, I want to welcome you to the front of the room here as our Assistant Superintendent and Chief Operating Officer. Dr. Megarino is gone today. His daughter is playing in the state tournament for volleyball, so miss him tonight, and glad you're here. Good to see you. All right, public communication. We have one speaker tonight. We welcome public comment. However, it's necessary to limit public comment to 3 minutes per person. You'll be given a 1-minute warning prior to the end of the 3-minute period. Board members cannot respond to questions or comments during public communications. Carrie Elledge.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and Justin. I stand before you tonight as required by internal PEN policy to share the results of a vote of confidence that was taken with the professional educators of Norman this past weekend. All votes cast occurred off contract time. From our PEN vote of confidence policy, quote, "A vote of confidence is a statement of the sense of the faculty and not a personnel recommendation," end quote. This vote was requested on Dr. Nick Migliorino, Superintendent of Norman Public Schools. Respondents had 3 options in relation to their actions, policies, and decisions of Dr. Nick, which were confidence, no confidence, I am uncomfortable taking this vote and do not feel it is the best course of action for PEN at this time. Per our vote of confidence policy, it is necessary to report, number 1, the number of faculty who were eligible to vote, 664, the number of faculty who voted, 480 total, the number of faculty who voted confidence in the administrator, 33 or 6.88%, the number of faculty who voted no confidence in the administrator, 328 or 68.33%. In addition, 119 people or 24.79 of the votes cast chose that they were uncomfortable taking this vote and did not feel it was the best course of action for PEN at this time. So what does all of this information mean? Many of our teachers are frustrated because they know that we can work together to alleviate so many of the issues that they are facing. They are concerned with the cleanliness of the buildings, with class size and physical space that does not allow for proper social distancing, with confusion over quarantining policies and inaccurate numbers being shared publicly, with the burden of attempting to teach students both virtually and in person at the same time. Why? Because our educators care about the students in Norman Public Schools. They care about their colleagues and their own families, and they really care about Norman. Our teachers are deeply committed to the success of the students in Norman Public Schools, and they love their career path. But we have to be able to work together to solve these issues. Our educators need to know that they are supported, safe, and valued as working professionals. At times like these, it is easy to become defeated, to be heartbroken, to allow negative to consume you. PEN does not want that. We want to make a difference for our students. We want to be appreciated for the hard work that every single member of the family of Norman Public Schools does each and every day. And we want to do this together. PEN is calling on the NPS Board of Education, on our superintendent, and on the NPS cabinet, and is asking for a virtual town hall with our educators so that we can open a sincere dialogue on how we can do better together. We must be solutions-oriented. We must be able to grow and move through this tough time so that our students can have the quality of education that they deserve. All of our students, all of our teachers.
approve this position by consent.
I move we accept the purchase orders and other items presented over the weekend to us, A through Q, as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Sasser?
Dirk O'Hara.
Yes.
Dan Snell.
Yes.
Cindy Nasher.
Yes.
Linda Sexton.
Yes.
Justin?
Mr. President and members of the board. Mike Leary, I believe, is joining us via Zoom. Mike is with Bolt Construction, and certainly Mike is no stranger to our meetings. This is number 5 and 6 tonight with regards to our elementary construction bids. He's going to present both for Eisenhower and Wilson. The bid tabs, as you know, are in your backup, and so Mike will be walking us through the process, highlighting some of those bids, and here to answer any questions that you might have specific to these 2 bids. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike. Mike, you should be able to share your screen.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sharing my screen and put this on to full slideshow. Are you seeing that full screen? I hope.
Not yet.
So everyone, I'm here to present Eisenhower and Wilson Elementaries as part of the 2019 bond projects.
Mike, we're not seeing your presentation.
Not seeing the presentation. Okay, hang on. Oh, I gotta hit the button. I gotta hit the share button.
That's right.
Can you see me now?
Yes, sir.
All right, I think I did that the last time I tried to share. I did everything but hit share.
I mentioned that this was number 5 and 6, but one of those times you were technically here, so that's in your favor.
Yes, the last time I was there and got to present in person, I do appreciate the opportunity to present virtually. This is Eisenhower and Wilson, projects 5 and 6 out of the elementary school projects that we have. Eisenhower Elementary consisted of a storm shelter with interior renovations, along with upgrades to the main entry of the building. Wilson Elementary consisted of a storm shelter and interior renovations, and those renovations included 2 new restroom upgrades to the school. We offered these projects to be bid both separately and combined. That yielded a little bit of savings on the project, but it also opens us up to getting increased participation from bidders that may want to tackle this as a combined larger project. We did average a little better than 3.3 bidders per bid package, and that was also taking into account a couple of small packages that had slightly lower turnout. But again, those are smaller, such as signage. Let's go to the next screen. So again, just to highlight here in Eisenhower, this corridor along the gymnasium is going to receive upgrades to that corridor with the finishes. The main entry will get the facelift, and this area in green on the south side of the building will be receiving the storm shelter. Wilson, the storm shelter is tucking in right here. This spot was chosen to provide the best location to draw the shortest path for all the students to get to, or the most equal distant path for everyone. And then the 2 bathrooms that are being added are here to the north, or to the west side of the school. Again, just to highlight some of the bidders that are in your your backup to this. Again, we felt pretty confident that we got very good bidder turnout this time. Again, you can see kind of here with this insulated concrete form, we had 6 bidders that put numbers to this project. And as we click through here, you can see that we had really good turnout that we thought on a lot of the larger bid packages, getting good coverage, getting pretty competitive pricing. And these are the bid results from Eisenhower. Our low bidders and recommended contractors are there highlighted in the yellow. So these are the ones for Eisenhower. And again, our average got brought down a little bit. I was wanting to say we got closer to 4, but we had a couple of small packages here that didn't receive as much attention. In the past, this small signage packages have been, about $3,000 to $5,000. So again, we should be able to reach out and get good coverage on that here to fill in that void. But again, electrical contractors, we've had again 6 bidders for that, which is great turnout. Again, very similar turnout for Wilson because we did bid these together, giving contractors the opportunity to more aggressively go after the schools combined as a larger project. So, and those are our results from our bid opening. And again, we're recommending the subcontractors in yellow be not only our best value, but good, trustworthy, and competent contractors to move forward with.
All right, thank you so much. I move the, yes?
Thank you. You have any questions? I'll do my best to answer.
We would hope so. I move we accept the suggested bidders for Eisenhower Elementary School and Wilson Elementary School.
Second.
Any discussion?
I assume we're below estimate, are we?
Yeah, so we're still within the elementary budget.
Assessor.
Dirk O'Hare,
Yes.
Dan Snell,
Yes.
Cindy Nusher,
Yes.
Linda Sexton. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes. Ms. Burkett.
Good evening. I am before you this evening to present our amended budget for this school year 2021. I will remind you that the last time, I'm going to drop this down a little bit, if that's okay. The last time that I presented the budget, it was back on June the 15th. That was the proposed budget. Under the School District Budget Act, we're required to present a budget for the ensuing year and have it in place by July 1st. So when I last talked with you officially, in the form of the School District Budget Act, in June, we were still not even finished with FY20 yet. So there were a lot of estimates that were in place for FY20. And then, of course, that evening, I did present some projections for this school year FY21. So a lot's happened since June the 15th. We have finished out our fiscal year. The auditors are actually on site working on the audit field work for last year FY20 this week and actually for the next couple of weeks. And even though I have met with you regarding negotiations and regarding our state aid, tonight's presentation is the official amended budget following the School District Budget Act. Still, again, a budget is just that. It's a budget, it's got projections, it has estimates in it, but I am here to bring some of those updates to you. I will tell you that your budget document in your board packet has what I call the official School District Budget Act format. For each of the funds, appropriated funds in that packet, there's going to be 4 columns. The first 2 columns of numbers are actual revenue and expenditure numbers for FY19 and FY20. So your packet of FY20 information does have the final numbers for FY20 now in that second column. The third column was the budget as I presented it to you back on June the 15th. And then the fourth column is tonight's presentation. I have summarized the information from the School District Budget Act and put it into the PowerPoint to review with you this evening. So the first slide are the 4 appropriated funds that are before you this evening: General Fund, Building Fund, Child Nutrition Fund, and Sinking Fund. The format of this slide shows it shows beginning percentage and beginning fund balance, which is how we ended last year. shows this year's revenues, and so what's available with the expenditures and the projected fund balance for the end of this school year. I'm going to start on the far right because I don't have detailed slides with me for sinking fund and child nutrition. I'm just going to give you a couple of highlights. And that is, first of all, on the right is the sinking fund. You'll notice there was a fund balance at the end of June, $30,162,000, and actually there's a projected fund balance this June of $21,884,000. What you see in between are the revenues that we have asked for through the sinking fund estimate of needs that was presented to you at our last board meeting, and the expenditure is the principal and interest that we owe on our various bond issues that are outstanding. We talked about, when I presented the sinking fund estimate of needs with you before, that last year's mill levy was 28.8 mills, and this year's mill levy for the sinking fund is 27.9. The reason why there's kind of a large fund balance, there is a large fund balance on both ends of that, because we have principal payments that fall in between taxpayers' payments. And so we have to make sure that we are asking for enough revenue from the taxpayers to meet our financial obligations that are due this year, and then also have enough to meet the obligation of the payments that that come to us that are due in the fall before everyone starts making their tax payments again next year by December. So it's all timing, and it's all about when the payments are due. I will tell you that any fund balance or cash that we have at the end of June each year, the auditors do, and I work on that. We know that we've got funds in the bank, so when we determine what the principal and interest payments are, we always subtract what we have already in the bank and then ask for the balance that's needed. So that's a big, long kind of explanation for the sinking fund. I'm going to move over to the child nutrition fund and point out to you that the revenues and expenditures for this school year are just over $5.7 million. The Sodexo Child Nutrition Management Agreement we have in place guarantees us a $600,000 profit in the Child Nutrition Fund. When we look at what Sodexo is responsible for as far as the food and the labor and all the cost of producing the child nutrition program versus the revenues that we bring in, Sodexo has met that $600,000 guarantee now 2 years in a row. We're in our 3rd year of our 5-year agreement with them. And that $600,000 is what we're investing back into the child nutrition program. We can't take that money and spend it wherever we want. The child nutrition revenues must be spent for the program. And I'll point out to you on the expenditures for child nutrition this year. For example, there's a delivery truck that we've ordered this year. There's some appliances that we ordered for some various sites, some coolers, refrigerators. So those are some examples of how we're using that guarantee and investing it back in. The other thing that's important is we can't just bank that $600,000 every year, because if we did, we would actually exceed the fund balance that we're allowed to have in the child nutrition fund. We're allowed to have up to 3 months of carryover in our fund balance, and that equates to just about $1.5 million. So you can see we're staying under that because we are taking that guarantee and we are reinvesting it into the program. On the building fund, now I'm going to kind of lay out my normal fund balance screen that I always share with you to kind of talk a little bit more about the details of the building fund. You can see that we ended last year and that we're starting out this year with a $1.5 million fund balance, which is a 27% fund balance. Our board goal and what we strive for in the building fund is to keep that fund balance between 30 and 35%, because we have set expenditures that we need to pay out of the building fund. So as we use those building fund dollars, as we leverage them to help with some of the general fund expenses, and we see that those expenses are bringing the fund balance down, we'll get to a point where we need to move some of those expenses back to the general fund. A couple examples I'll give you on that. We have been paying for our SRO program out of the building fund for the last 3 years. This year, that's about $680,000. So we've been grateful. I've been grateful that we've had a building fund balance that's allowed us to do that. It's really, as I talk about the things I've moved into this building fund that we've moved into it, It really helps show how we are able to leverage our different funds that we have, spend the funds legally, but to try to help the general fund. And so I'll be, of course, talking about the general fund more in a moment. But the SRO program, the utilities, our utility budget's about $2 million. I've moved those utility expenses from general fund to building fund. And another really large item that I've moved to the building fund this last couple of years is our county assessor revaluation fee. That is just under $300,000. Have moved it over, and it's part of this $6.2 million. So as you can see, the expenditure budget is exceeding the revenue budget by about $423,000. So that shows that if this were to hold as presented, that it's bringing our fund balance down to $1.1 million and 19%. So just have to watch this and monitor it. I will tell you that in the revenue, the $5.8 million, I have ad valorem budgeted at 95% collections this year. I've normally, the last couple of years, budgeted at 97%. Brought that down to 95% to be conservative. I always want my revenues to grow as opposed to assuming they're going to come in. With COVID, with businesses shutting down, with so much changing in our economy, I just think it's a more prudent percentage to work on. I will know more in the spring as people are able and making their property tax payments, if we're able to increase and if those revenues come in higher. In the building fund, every 1% is about $56,000. So if we bring in 97%, as is our history of collections, then that shows you that my revenues would go up by about $112,000, just to kind of show you how that works. And that, I think, is all I'm going to say for this moment on my building fund. Now we're going to talk about the general fund, and I'm going to start out with what I call the kind of the big ticket items for this school year, FY 2021. And you can see that there are some pluses in the revenue budget for this school year, and there's some takeaways, some red numbers on here. The largest increase to our revenue budget this year is the Federal CARES Act money that we are going to be receiving this year. We officially were notified of this $2,093,000 in June, submitted our application, and it was approved, but we did not have any expenditures by June 30th. So actually that full $2,293,000, you're going to see it, you see it now on this revenue slide, and when I show you the expenditure slide here in a moment, you're going to see it on the expenditure side. The federal money does not come to us up front. We have to spend our own monies, file that claim for reimbursement, and receive those funds as reimbursement. The motor vehicle collection lawsuit is another large item that we did not receive $1,067,000 last year, and that those collections should be coming to us this year. We did receive a July initial allocation from the State Department for our state aid, just under $2 million compared to last year. They dropped how much they were paying on a per student basis when they calculated the July allocation by $114. They are projecting that the factors are going to drop when we receive our December midterm allocation. Anywhere from, and it's not a known science, it all depends on student counts, which are being remitted to the State Department now as we're speaking, looking at all the assessed valuations and how much communities have grown, but they've given us really a broad range of, it could be an additional $28 drop per student, all the way up to $74. During the summer when I was working with you on what the projections looked like for this year, I had only used the lower end of that, the $750,000, but we've seen that our child count has dropped quite a bit this year compared to last year, as well as many other districts across the state. We've seen other districts that have really grown. We've seen a lot in the news lately about what's going on with some districts. So it truly is an unknown as to what our December midterm allocation is going to look like. The formula is built where you are paid on the higher of the 2 preceding years' student count. So Norman will still be funded as if and paid on our higher student count from last year, but that goes the same for all the other districts across the state as well. Any district that reports higher student growth at midterm gets that higher count. So if the pie is so big and many of us are holding flat with our enrollment and others are turning in increased enrollments, that's how that shrinkage or that dollar amount per student goes down. So how all that plays out, we are going to wait and see in December or January when the State Department puts that in. But I did want to point out that I have put in a 1.5 million drop where I had projected anywhere from 700,000 to 2 million might be our district's reduction in state aid. And you can see some other large items there. So what this slide shows us is that our revenues compared to last year are approximately 2.2 million down in just these really large categories of revenue. On the expenditure side, you can see that our expenditure adjustments are showing a higher amount than last year by 3.3 million. 2,093,000 of that 3.3 million is that federal CARES money that we talked about. So as we spend those federal CARES dollars and we submit the revenue, we're going to have more revenue, but we're also going to have more expenses just when we look at that federal CARES Act. You will see on here that I have added in the step raise, the negotiations that we were able to accomplish this summer with some other categories of expenditures. The one reduction you see on this slide is negative 1.5 million. Just like last year, we are really trying to look at our expenditure budgets in the non-salary area, trying to be thoughtful and spending our dollars where they're needed, really looking at our efficiencies and really trying to look and make sure that we're just not putting expense budget out there and wondering how we're going to spend it. Just like last year, we reduced non-salary area budgets about 1.6 million at the beginning of the year and ended up adding back about 400,000 of that. So as needs came along, directors submitted their budget requests for some add back, if you will, to their expense budgets. And I anticipate that's going to happen again this year. That work that we did last year did help us reach one of our goals, and that is to turn our fund balance back around to a growing fund balance last year. We were at just under 6% fund balance starting out last year, and we ended just over 8%. The board and Dr. Nick have established a goal of 9% fund balance, knowing that as we build and develop a strong fund balance, that enables us to put money back into the classroom and to help with our teachers and our staffing. So we were pleased with the growth last year, but as you've seen on this slide, we had an increase in expenditures. We saw on the previous slide that we had a decrease in revenues, and what that brings us to then is the final slide that I prepared for the PowerPoint, showing that we did start this, ended last year really healthy with a lot of work that we put forth. We ended last year at 8.29%, just over 10.2 million. The expenditure budget tonight does exceed the revenue budget by 1,894,000. One other thing I'll point out about the revenue budget is, again, I budgeted ad valorem at 95%. A much bigger growth happens with every 1% in the general fund. If and when we collect that 97%, every 1% is just under 400,000. So if collections come in, if people are able to pay their property taxes, that right there will add another $800,000 to the revenues. So that it still will, at least as presented right now, that's still a deficit, but we'll see, really how it ends. A reminder that we have the state aid estimate in there that will obviously play into this. So I don't always have the answers. I mean, there's always something out there that's we're watching and we're listening in for and trying to monitor. But with the budget presented tonight, you can see that we are reducing our projected fund balance down to 8.3 million or 6.95%. So that's me going through all the funds and giving you my information. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I move we accept the amended budget as presented.
Second?
Any questions? Ms. Esser?
Dirk O'Hara?
Yes.
Dan Snell?
Yes.
Cindy Nasher?
Yes.
Linda Sexton?
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Mr. Miller?
Yes. Next item, we are legally required to bring items for action. This item specifically, resolution calls for an annual election of board position number 1, which is held by Mr. O'Hara. And so it requires your action as a board this evening.
I move we approve the annual election resolution for board position number 1.
Second?
Ms. Esser, please call the roll.
Dirk O'Hara?
Yes.
Dan Snell?
Yes.
Cindy Nasher?
Yes.
Linda Sexton?
Mr. Miller?
The next item is for information. And so again, this is an item we bring to you annually. This will be the board meetings for calendar year 2021. And you can see there in your backup, the listing. This again will be for action next month. This has been reviewed by Dr. Nick and the cabinet and is very much in line with what you saw this year.
And what's the feeling of the board on this? Is this, you saw the supplemental proposal?
You know, we scheduled 7 o'clock in the past for all our kids to come and get awards, and maybe someday that will come back to a normal kind of thing. So, you know, that's why I think we do it at 6. But that's my only perspective at this point.
Okay, thank you.
All right, yeah.
We don't have to accept it.
This will be just for presentation tonight. Again, take a look at those and then we'll be taking action on that next month.
Is there any new business? Administrative staff reports.
Yeah, so look forward to Dr. Nick returning to this chair. Just temporarily keeping it warm, I assure you. So I want to return that back to the rightful owner. I did want to share some thoughts that he had with regards to his appreciation to the chamber. We had the opportunity last week, Dr. Nick, Holly Nevels, and myself, to present in a community forum and respond to some questions that our community had with regards to our return to school and other items. So again, appreciate the chamber sponsoring that. I know that Dr. Nick has met with his Teacher Leadership Council last week and getting feedback. Those, as you know, are Teachers of the Year with other representatives from athletics and special education, fine arts. He also wanted me to share with you that Dr. Beck and Holly McKinney will be facilitating some COVID councils, which is going to be at the elementary and secondary, represented by teachers from all of our sites. Again, with the opportunity to get feedback and input into the process and answer any questions that may be out there along those lines. And then also I wanted to express our appreciation for your approval tonight of the memorandum of agreement between Norman Public Schools and the State Health Department. This allows our nurses, those LPNs and RNs in the district, to conduct COVID-19 testing for students and staff that may become symptomatic during the school day. This would allow the nurses to, with permission, allow the staff or parents to give permission for them to collect the sample. That prevents them from making one more stop as they're exiting and going home. Again, with strep, flu, and other things out there. I want to make sure that we identify whether it's a positive or negative for COVID. If it's negative, then once the symptoms resolve and fever-free for 24 hours, the student or staff will return back to school. This is no way for the purpose of drawing anyone to the school for testing purposes. We're not going to be a testing pod, but this just helps for students and staff on their way home that become symptomatic during the day. So our nurses have gone through training. They have been fit for their masks, and so have the necessary PPE to do that. And so again, appreciate the State Department of Health and your approval this evening to move forward with that. So thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't share my own thoughts this evening and take this opportunity to address a little disappointment and maybe some confusion with regards to the action that was presented by the professional educators in Norman this evening. No doubt this is a challenging time. Regardless of where you live or work, school districts across this nation, certainly this state, have been grappling with how to navigate an incredible, difficult time that we were thrust into only just a few short months ago. There's no playbook, and we've been forced to create it along the way. Dr. Nick, I would say, has gone to great lengths to provide many options for both families and our teachers, which is why it's disheartening that the union would use their time and energy to create discord with this unnecessary action. I would encourage any teacher who has specific concerns to speak directly with Dr. Nick or one of us at any time. For those that may be viewing at home, in spite of this unnecessary action, Dr. Nick, along with the leadership team, remains focused and committed to addressing the needs of your students. We want to ensure that Dr. Nick has never lost confidence in our teachers. And he has never, and I underscore never, lost confidence in our ability to serve our students, regardless of the circumstances. I truly believe that we are better together and look forward to working with our staff and serving your students. Mr. President, that's the end of my report.
Any Board of Education reports? I guess my short one will be, I will be throwing my name in the hat to try to work longer with you guys. And work hard to fill this seat again, and it's been a joy working with you for the 4 years. It's been quite a challenge in the last 4 years.
I think it was a joy for 3 years.
Very good point.
I was glad to hear that. I was wondering how bad it would be. But, okay, well, good luck.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Discussion.
Dirk O'Hare,
Yes.
Dan Snell,
Yes.
Cindy Hatcher.
Yes.
Linda Sexton.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah.